Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. We've got Richard Goodstein. He's a Hillary Clinton supporter. He even supported Hillary's decision not to back Bernie. I think Ryan has got some thoughts about that. We're gonna have an interesting little interview. Then I'm not sure if you all saw this, but Rick Wilson made fun of a lot of Trump supporters yesterday. But I'm going to contrast it a little bit with my friend Noah Weinrich to a Dave Chappelle clip that he was at an Andrew Yang rally about how Trump voters and Trump supporters should be looked at in the context of if you're trying to win them over. And then, of course, we've got our first new super PAC spending against Bernie Sanders panel. Everybody's going to weigh in. I'm excited to see that discussion. But the main thing, Ryan, is that you guys have a piece over at The Intercept I want to talk to you about, which is that Joe Biden is losing ground amongst middle-aged and older voters. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, if this were a cable show, we would just be talking horse race. And so let's talk about the raw horse race that's going on here.
Okay.
Just forget the substance of the question over Joe Biden's record on Social Security. Let's just look at the political acumen on display here. Mm-hmm. So you've got a January heading into an Iowa caucus. How, as a candidate, do you get yourself wrapped up in like a 3-week-long fight over Social Security when you spent 40 years on video saying that you think the program should be cut? So you're running in a Democratic primary. Okay, you got a bad record on Social Security. You know what? That was then. This is now. I'm a different candidate now. Times have changed.
Right.
I'm going to defend and expand Social Security. Joe Biden cannot admit that he was ever wrong about anything. And that's a problem for somebody who's been wrong about everything.
You're exactly right.
He can't apologize.
We're going to get into that.
And so Bernie just kept hitting him with, hey, you did this on Social Security. He'd say, no, I didn't. And then the media would be like, oh, yeah,
well, no, you did.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. When even CNN is out there being like, no, dude, like you tried to cut Social Security. Just say it. I mean, I think you're exactly right. We'd just be like, you know what? We had a different vision. The Obama administration, we got screwed by the Republicans. The truth is that we have to fight for it, and I'll fight for it tooth and nail. I mean, it ain't that hard of a message.
And so the last 6 polls that have come out, voters age 45 and up are fleeing Joe Biden.
Wow.
And that's what he needs.
So where are they going, Ryan? That's the real question. Are they going to go to Bernie?
A lot of them are going to Bernie, believe it or not. Like Bernie has been in the low single digits with people 65 and over. That's now coming into double digits. So it's one of those things where like Democrats in like central Pennsylvania, you're not going to win it, but you just don't want to get killed so badly in it. And so, Bernie catching up to him with people 45 to like 64, and then creeping a little bit with 65 and over is awful for Biden.
So this is really crazy. From the CNN New York Times poll, likely caucus goers, a 17-point swing from Biden to Sanders amongst those aged 45 to 64. That's astounding.
It's huge. And so these are small subgroups, and people be like, well, who knows?
No, it's not small. That's a huge voting block in the Iowa caucus.
Right. What I mean is that might represent like 30 people in the poll itself. But it's consistent across every single poll. A 17 swing in a month when you spend the whole month talking about Social Security just speaks to a lack of political ability. So if Joe Biden is the guy who's electable, he's the one that's going to beat Donald Trump. If this is how he responds to an attack from Bernie Sanders, how's he going to handle Trump?
Yeah, that's a good point. And I do think that overall we're beginning to see Biden crumble. I'm going to get into this more in my radar. But this is the first data that I have seen that you guys kind of conclusively brought together that Bernie is making inroads. Because that's always the critique, right? It's like, oh, under 35, the guy, if that was the primary, he would win it tomorrow, he'd win the presidency. But a lot of boomers in this country get a say, and they in particular don't seem to like Bernie. I think Morning Consult actually showed his net favorables with over 65s dropped about 10 points over the last month. What do you owe that to?
So I think that is quite specifically Elizabeth Warren, the fight that he had with Elizabeth Warren. So if you think about, and so his numbers of support are going up, but you did see that favorability drop. And so Elizabeth Warren's support is concentrated among women over the age of 50.
Got it.
Like that's disproportionately who backs her. So he gets in this fight with Elizabeth Warren. And so these people who are already supporting Elizabeth Warren, now when pollsters ask, do you have a favorable or unfavorable view of Bernie Sanders, they used to say, well, I'm with Warren, but I like Bernie.
Got it.
Now they're like, I'm with Warren, but I don't have a favorable vision of Bernie. So it's not necessarily costing him votes in the caucus or New Hampshire, but I think that's the entirety of that depression.
And then before we move on,
there.
Ryan, can you just lay out, what this means in terms of the caucus? Because let's break it down. Number of caucus goers, how many of them are older? How significant is this for Bernie's chances?
Well, it's extremely significant. And the justification for the media not covering Bernie for the last year was that he has a ceiling. Like, okay, yeah, he's got his base of support, he's got his bros, but it's never going to get over, and whatever the number was, and somebody said it's never going to get over 18, and it's, well, now he's at 22. Never going to get over 25. Then he pushes it, he's at 28, 30. But he's got a ceiling. Yeah. And what this shows is that there are different dynamics that can break you out of that ceiling. It doesn't mean that these seniors and these middle-aged voters are going to be enthusiastic bros who are going on Twitter and dragging near a tandem.
Right.
But they're like, you know what? The young people like him. He's surging. He has the energy. I can get behind this.
Yeah.
And that vote is worth just as much as an enthusiastic
You're absolutely
vote.
right.
And it shows that the ceiling might be breaking.
So just to show an analogy, I remember with Trump in particular, everybody in Iowa, New Hampshire, he's got a ceiling, 28%. Nevada, 55% of the vote. And everyone was like, hold up a second.
Right.
Because it's exactly that. It doesn't. You don't need to be
dynamic.
the core Trump supporter. You're just like, you know what? I kind of agree with the guy. I'm just going to vote for him.
Right.
A vote is a vote. That's all that really matters. So.
And there's also this reservoir of people who, and judging by Bernie's overall favorability, have always liked him.
Right.
But they've internalized, quite reasonably, the idea that he just simply can't win. He's a 78-year-old Democratic
He's the
socialist.
most trusted man on health care, which is the #1 issue to Democratic voters. That means quite a bit. All he ever had to prove was, I could win. So if he can, that's it, right?
Right. And if they start getting permission kind of from the rest of the voters, like, oh, wait, he won Iowa, he's winning Iowa, he could win, well, then, I've always liked him. I just didn't think he could win. So therefore, then they move over and they support him too. And that continues to play into the other dynamic of the people who are like, well, it looks like he's winning.
There you go. All right, so interesting developments. At the same time, Crystal is up in New York City. She was on New Day this morning, and they announced that our book, The Populist Guide to 2020, is beating John Bolton's book on the Amazon Top 50 list. Now, I have a special request of all of you, which is that if this book does well, if we can push this thing into the Amazon Top 10, it will drive the mainstream people absolutely insane. Insane. Ryan, you're our publisher, so you also have an insane.
I woke up this morning and checked, and it was the number 42. So the 42nd best-selling book in the entire country.
Right.
It's up there with all the self-help books.
Yes, it literally is.
Yeah.
And we're beating The Great Gatsby right now. So
and
take that, F. Scott Fitzgerald.
It will drive people insane.
Right.
If by the end of this show it can be in the top 10, people will be like, what on earth is going on? And it's also fun to just go look at the Amazon Top 50.
Yeah.
It's nice to get a sense of what the country is. You'll see kind of like 10 kind of fringe conservative books. You'll see like 40 self-help books, some religious books, and then Michelle Obama.
An anti-vax book.
An anti-vax book.
Anti-vax Michelle Obama.
And Michelle Obama.
Somewhere in there is a populist guide to 2020. Now, as I promised all of you, if you pre-order this book, you can go to rising.substack.com for all this information, and you forward your Amazon receipt to crystallandsaagar@gmail.com. We will make you a personalized video. Several hundred of you have emailed me so far, so my entire weekend is gone, so thank you all for that. Make me suffer. Make us all suffer. And we really appreciate it. For real, though, thank you all so much for the support. And if you could keep it going, I really want to drive these people crazy. I'm going to tell you what's on my radar. That's next.